Dilophosaurus, along with Compsognathus, are the only known venomous dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park franchise. Dilophosaurus lived during the early Jurassic period, before mosquitoes are currently confirmed by the fossil record to exist. If Jurassic Park was able to find any viable DNA specimens, there would have been very little to go on. This would mean that there would be more gaps than normal in the DNA sequence, subsequently filled by more frog DNA. This could explain why the Dilophosaurus are so different from their prehistoric counterparts, far more so than other dinosaurs. The movie's Dilophosaurus was also sized down to prevent confusion with the raptors. Because of its minor role, the filmmakers were able to not fully follow the storyboards involving the Dillo completely. More information was added for the Dilophosaurus in the film, like the fact that the Dilophosaurus in the film were juveniles. Juveniles would hunt in packs, but only the leader was allowed to disable prey. During the Jurassic Park tour, the endorsement team was supposed to see the Dilophosaurus, but none appeared. When Dennis Nedry disabled the park's security to steal dinosaur embryos, a juvenile Dilophosaurus was among the dinosaurs that escaped. It stalked Nedry as he tried to free his vehicle from a fallen tree limb. He mocked the creature and ran back to his jeep, only to find it waiting for him. The Dilophosaurus flared its frill and sprayed venom, first hitting Nedry's raincoat, then blinding him with a second shot. Inside the vehicle, he realized too late that the Dilophosaurus had already slipped in, and it killed him as venom splattered on the window. The cloned Dilophosaurus had several traits not seen in the original species, including a frill like a frilled lizard and venom-spitting abilities similar to a dragonfly. Their skulls were less tapered, resembling dromaeosaurids like Deinonychus and InGen's Velociraptor. Despite appearing harmless, they could spit venom up to 6 meters, aiming for the face to stun prey before attacking. The frill expanded and rattled when they prepared to strike. Cloned Dilophosaurs were slightly smaller than the real species, reaching 6 meters instead of 7 meters, and lacked a fourth finger. Only small individuals, about 3 meters long, were shown on screen to keep velociraptors as the primary antagonists. Dilophosaurus lived in what is now Arizona during the early Jurassic period. It measured between 6 and 7 meters in length and weighed around 400 kilograms, making it the largest known predator of its time. Unlike later theropods, it had eyes positioned on the sides of its head, limiting its depth perception. For many years, Dilophosaurus was considered a weak predator that scavenged or fed on fish, partly due to its notched jaw and fluvial habitat. However, the 2020 study showed it was a much stronger predator than previously thought, capable of hunting large prey. Its bony crests may have been part of a larger ornamental structure, likely used for display or social signaling. Unlike its fictional portrayal in Jurassic Park, the real Dilophosaurus had no extendable frill or venom-spitting ability, as no related species exhibit such traits. However, its depiction as a social animal may be accurate, as fossil evidence shows multiple individuals found together, suggesting possible pack behavior. Styracosaurus was not planned to be a featured dinosaur in the original Jurassic Park on Isla Nublar, and no populations were reported by InGen on either Nublar or their Site B facility on Isla Sorna in 1996. The species appears to have been present in Jurassic World on Isla Nublar, and as of 2018, it has been revealed that the island's Styracosaurus population was the victim of an unconfirmed form of cruelty. In Jim Martain's concept art of the Jurassic World Innovation Center, Styracosaurus was seen on one of the banners inside the building. It's noteworthy to mention that it has a hole on the frill similar to the one seen in the Sinoceratops. Measuring around 5 meters in length and weighing almost 2 tons, Styracosaurus is a medium to large-sized ceratopsian herbivorous dinosaur that lived in the late Cretaceous period in what is now North America. Styracosaurus is from the ceratopsian family of dinosaurs, with a single horn protruding from its snout, and a large neck frill featuring distinctive lengthy spines that give it its name. which translates into spiked lizard. They are believed to have lived in herds and traveled in large groups for protection and foraging for food. Its tough beak and shearing cheek teeth are ideal for slicing up plant matter. Styracosaurus is the second most well-known member of the ceratopsian family. The first Styracosaurus fossils were discovered in 1913 by Sternberg and Lamb in Alberta on a site that is now known as the Rich Dinosaur Park Formation. The large nasal horns and frills of Styracosaurus are among the most distinctive facial adornments of all dinosaurs. Their function has been the subject of debate since the first horned dinosaurs were discovered. Styracosaurus and other horned dinosaurs are often depicted in popular culture as herd animals. A bone bed composed of Styracosaurus remains is known from the Dinosaur Park Formation of Alberta, about halfway up the formation. This bone bed is associated with different types of river deposits. The mass deaths may have been a result of otherwise non-herding animals congregating around a waterhole in a period of drought, with evidence suggesting the environment may have been seasonal and semi-arid. Tropeognathus is a large pterosaur from South America. It is very similar to Ornithochirus, and its fossil remains were once assigned to that genus. It was a large pterosaur with an estimated wingspan of up to 8 meters, making it one of the largest members of its group. A skull found and originally attributed to Baryonyx measured about 75 centimeters in length, leading to an estimated wingspan of 7 meters, however. Later studies suggested it belonged to a different genus. The most distinctive feature of Tropeognathus was its large, convex, keel-like crest on the upper snout, accompanied by a smaller, opposing mass on the lower jaw. These crests were more pronounced in males, though they were not as thick or robust as those found in Ornithochirus. The upper crest extended from the tip of the snout back to the large skull opening called the fenestra nasoanterorbitalis. A smaller crest projected downward from the lower jaws at their symphysis. In comparison, Anhangara, another closely related anhangarid, had a broader, spoon-shaped jaw tip, while Tropeognathus had a narrower appearance. The crests of Tropeognathus were larger and more prominent than those of Baryonyx and Ornithochirus, giving it a broader skull. Experts believe that Tropeognathus lived along the coastline of South America, nesting high, out of reach of predators, and plunging into the sea and nearby lakes to catch its prey. Tropeognathus mesembrynus was the subject of an entire episode of the award-winning BBC television program Walking with Dinosaurs, which used the first name of its cousin Ornithochirus, but was incorrectly named as a species of it as Ornithochirus mesembrynus. Edmontosaurus was first cloned by InGen during the planning stages for Jurassic Park on Isla Nublar, with a small herd of 4 individuals bred on Isla Sorna. Per 1996 report, these animals were not shipped to Nublar prior to the incident in 1993, and InGen subsequently lost track of the animals' population numbers on Sorna, though the carcass of an Edmontosaurus was seen in a Tyrannosaurus nest prior to the San Diego incident in 1997. Edmontosaurus is one of the species that, despite being canon, has not appeared in any of the Jurassic films yet. So instead, the development team took inspiration from the design that is used in the promotional websites for Jurassic World, created by the renowned paleo artist Julius Otonii. The crest was added later to accommodate recent fossil finds. Edmontosaurus, a large herbivorous dinosaur from the Hadrosauridae family, was primarily terrestrial. Its teeth were continuously replaced and formed dental batteries, with only a few teeth in use at a time. The dinosaur used its broad beak to crop or strip leaves from twigs and branches. It likely had cheek-like structures to retain food while feeding. Unlike earlier theories suggesting it was aquatic, it is now understood that Edmontosaurus fed on terrestrial plants, likely grasses and gymnosperms. Its teeth show evidence of grazing, with abrasive materials like silica-rich plants likely in its diet. Fossilized stomach contents are scarce, but some specimens have shown possible plant remains. Studies of the dinosaur's teeth through stable isotopes indicate it lived in varying climates and had a mixed diet. The structure of its skull suggested a grinding motion for food, although there is ongoing debate about how its jaws moved. It likely reached maturity in around 9 to 15 years, with its skull shape changing significantly as it grew. Edmontosaurus had a relatively small brain compared to its size, with an elongated shape and no neocortex. Pathologies such as tumors and osteochondrosis have been found in its bones. It was likely a facultative biped, meaning it could walk on four legs or stand and run on two. While it was once thought to be semi-aquatic, its anatomy suggests it wasn't well suited for swimming. Socially, Edmontosaurus likely lived in groups, as evidenced by large bone beds. It lacked a bony crest, but may have had soft tissue structures for visual or auditory signaling. Some researchers have proposed it was migratory, potentially traveling long distances, although this idea is debated. Despite these questions, it is clear that Edmontosaurus was a highly social and adaptable dinosaur. While InGen was not known to have cloned Gigantspinosaurus for either Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, by 2012, the company had possession of the carnivore's genetic material. This was later used, along with the DNA of numerous other species, to create the genetically modified superpredator known as the Indominus rex, which was responsible for the destruction of Jurassic World in 2015. While determining exactly which theropod genera was the largest, metrics for Giganttosaurus have consistently placed it as larger than an average Tyrannosaurus and comparable to the largest known specimens of Tyrannosaurus. More specimens of the Giganttosaurus are required to give a clearer picture of size, as all species will exist within a spectrum of sizes. According to Industrial Light and Magic Senior Visual Effects supervisor David Vickery, the Giganttosaurus was designed in a way to evoke hatred from the audience, with its facial markings designed to give it an evil appearance, with Collins specifying at one point to paint them like the Joker's melted face paint. The scene where the flaming torch is thrown into the Giga's mouth and the Giga breathes fire is a heavy reference to Godzilla's atomic breath from kaiju movies. Giganttosaurus is the second dinosaur in the film series to kill a Tyrannosaurus, the first being Spinosaurus. However, Giganttosaurus is the first dinosaur to kill Tyrannosaurus according to the timeline. Because the prologue took place in the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago, in real life, Giganttosaurus could have never fought Tyrannosaurus, as the latter lived in North America, while the former lived in South America. The two were separated by roughly 30 million years. The two continents were not connected by a land bridge until 15 to 12 million years ago. In 1999, Baryonyx and Showers found that Giganttosaurus and Tyrannosaurus had similar oxygen isotope patterns, suggesting both were homeothermic, with a metabolism between mammals and reptiles. An 8-ton Giganttosaurus likely had a metabolism similar to a 1-ton mammalian carnivore, supporting rapid growth. In 2001, Blanco and Mazzetta studied its running ability, rejecting the idea that falling risks limited its speed. Instead, they found that balance was the main factor, estimating a top speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Unlike birds, Giganttosaurus used its heavy tail for balance, making bird comparisons limited. A 2017 study suggested that large theropods like Giganttosaurus were not built for high-speed running, but were instead limited to walking gaits. In 2002, Coria and Curry found that Giganttosaurus had adaptations for powerful sideways head movements, with jaw musculature built for speed rather than sheer bite force. A 2005 study estimated that Giganttosaurus had a weaker bite force than Tyrannosaurus, designed more for slicing rather than crushing bones. It likely hunted smaller prey, such as juvenile sauropods, using the front of its jaws for capture. The 2006 discovery of Mapusaurus fossils in a bone bed suggested that large theropods may have lived in groups. Coria speculated that Mapusaurus might have hunted in packs, which would have been useful when attacking massive sauropods. Apatosaurus was originally planned to be in the first Jurassic Park, most notably in the scenes now involving the Brachiosaurus, as well as in the Cut River raft scene in which a carcass of the sauropod was going to be feasted upon by Rexy before it would give chase to Alan Grant and the Murphy kids. But this was changed due to budgetary reasons, and the idea to replace the sauropod from the idea by Phil Tippett. Mamenchosaurus were absent from the game trail in the script for The Lost World. Jurassic Park, with Apatosaurus taking its place. It does appear in The Lost World, Jurassic Park Official Annual. Apatosaurus is confirmed to be on Isla Sorna due to The Lost World Official Souvenir magazine, identifying the several skeletons spotted just outside of the worker village as belonging to an apatosaur. There is concept art for Jurassic World that depicts an early design of the Indominus Rex attacking a green-skinned Apatosaurus, suggesting that there was to be a scene that showed the Indominus attack on the sauropod herd rather than this action taking place off-screen. In 2015, several Apatosaurus were brutally killed by the rampaging Indominus Rex. The surviving members of the population were later encountered on Nublar 3 years later during the volcanic eruption of Mount Sibo. At least 4 Apatosaurus were successfully transported to the mainland. These specimens were later released from their cages alongside numerous other species of dinosaurs into the wilds of Northern California. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, scientists believed Apatosaurus was too heavy to support itself on land and lived in swamps, but later research confirmed it was fully terrestrial. Studies of its teeth suggest it was a ground-level, non-selective browser, feeding on ferns, seed ferns, horsetails, and possibly submerged plants. A 2015 study found that the necks of Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus may have been adapted for intraspecific combat. The single claw on its forelimb was likely used for grasping tree trunks while rearing rather than for defense or feeding. Sauropod trackways suggest they could travel 25-40 kilometers per day, reaching speeds of 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. Some evidence suggests juveniles may have been capable of bipedal movement, though this is debated. While often depicted with raised necks, some studies suggest Apatosaurus was better suited for low browsing. Others argue that it could hold its neck at a steep angle like modern tetrapods, with a U-shaped lateral bending range. However, some researchers claim its neck was less flexible due to large muscles and cartilage, requiring more body movement while foraging. The massive size and long neck of Apatosaurus raised questions about its breathing efficiency. Research suggests it had an avian-style respiratory system with multiple air sacs, reducing dead space volume and increasing oxygen intake. This system also helped regulate body temperature, countering arguments that its size would have made heat dissipation difficult. Evidence for this avian system includes vertebral pneumaticity, which both lightened the skeleton and connected to air sacs. Some researchers suggest Apatosaurus had difficulty maintaining blood pressure to oxygenate its brain. Others argue its near horizontal neck posture eliminated this issue by keeping its head at an even level. Estimations suggest Apatosaurus would have required about 260 liters of water per day, assuming an avian respiratory system and a reptilian resting metabolism. scientists at the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences named the new ankylosaur species Crichtonsaurus boellini in honor of Michael Crichton because dinosaurs became one of the most popular scientific subjects due to his book. Crichtonsaurus was a relatively small ankylosaur that lived in China during the early late Cretaceous. Like other ankylosaurs, it was a low-built, quadrupedal herbivore that fed on ground-level vegetation. 2 species of Crichtonsaurus have been described by Chinese paleontologists, but their classification remains uncertain. In her PhD thesis, Victoria Megan Arbour questioned the validity of these species, noting that there was no definitive connection between the holotype specimen of Crichtonsaurus and the fossils later assigned to it. She suggested that at least one partial skeleton attributed to Crichtonsaurus boellini should instead be classified under the second species, Crichtonsaurus banksiensis. Differences in the shoulder blades of the fossil specimens indicate the presence of at least 2 distinct ankylosaur species or genera in the Sungjiawan Formation. A later study by Arbour and Curry reclassified Crichtonsaurus banksiensis, assigning it to a new genus, Crichtonpelta. Named after the famous Jurassic Park novelist Michael Crichton, Crichtonsaurus is a small species of herbivorous ankylosaurid dinosaur related to the larger Ankylosaurus, only much smaller at a height of just over 2 meters, weighing around 450 kilometers, and measuring approximately 7 meters in length. It is similar in appearance to its larger and more famous cousin, with large, thick osteoderms covering its back and a powerful club at the end of its tail that protects it from predators. However, the lack of unique traits in its holotype suggests that it might not be a distinct genus. Ichthyosaurus. Ichthyosaurus was the first of the ichthyosaur family to be discovered. It was a large sea-dwelling reptile that lived during the Jurassic period. Like most ichthyosaurs, it resembled a modern dolphin. It probably gave birth to live young. In the very early 19th century, a young girl named Mary Anning was walking along the southern English coast, nicknamed the Jurassic Coast, when she made an incredible discovery. Young Mary had found a nearly complete Ichthyosaurus fossil, the first ever of this genus, and the family that was named after it. Ichthyosaurus is believed to have been a ram feeder, relying solely on its jaws and teeth to catch prey, as the structure of its hyobranchial apparatus suggests it was incapable of suction feeding. It is thought to have been a fast and agile pursuit predator, using thunniform locomotion to maintain high-speed swimming. Stomach content analysis of Ichthyosaurus aningi indicates a diet primarily consisting of cephalopods, likely belemnites, and fish. Like other ichthyosaurs, it likely depended on its vision, possibly supplemented by its sense of smell. Earlier theories suggested that Ichthyosaurus laid eggs on land, but fossil evidence confirms that it gave birth to live young, making it a fully marine animal that never ventured onto land. 3 pregnant specimens, all classified as Ichthyosaurus somersetensis, have been discovered. While the exact birth orientation of the fetuses remains unclear, it is likely they were born tail first, a common trait among highly aquatic vertebrates. Ichthyosaurus is distinguished from other ichthyosaurs by having a wide forefin with 5 or more digits with an anterior digital bifurcation, but the morphology of the humerus and coracoids are also distinct from that of other lower Jurassic ichthyosaurs, as is the arrangement of the dermal bones, though the suture lines used to diagnose these are not always visible. InGen created 5 Baryonyx in the InGen compound in Isla Sorna. It was planned to live in its own paddock for Phase 1 of Jurassic Park, but never made it to Isla Nublar. Its paddock was located near a river, which could have supplied its residents with fish to eat. It is unknown if there were any surviving wild populations on Isla Sorna after Hurricane Clarissa hit the island. However, as its chosen environment of freshwater lakes and estuaries had next to no competition, it quite possibly thrived. That was Until 1999, Baryonyx was originally supposed to be the main antagonist dinosaur of Jurassic Park 3, and a logo depicting it as well as a storyboard featuring this dinosaur was even made. But Baryonyx was replaced by its larger relative Spinosaurus in the final product. According to Ricardo Delgado, who served as a concept artist for Jurassic Park 3 in early 2000, several members of the Jurassic Park 3 would refer to the Spinosaurus as Baryonyx. Baryonyx was initially thought to be a piscivorous dinosaur, using its long snout and claws to catch fish, similar to modern crocodilians or grizzly bears. However, some researchers argued it was primarily a scavenger, using its claws to tear into carcasses. Fossil evidence later confirmed a diet including fish and juvenile dinosaurs, suggesting it was an opportunistic predator. Its jaw structure, resembling that of gharials, supported a fish-eating lifestyle, but studies showed spinosaurids were not exclusive piscivores. Biomechanical analyses indicated Baryonyx had strong snouts resistant to bending, aiding in prey capture. Some researchers suggested it swept its jaws sideways to catch fish, while others proposed it used its claws to pin down prey before manipulating it with its jaws. Studies on jaw flexibility showed it could widen its throat, allowing it to swallow large prey. Early theories suggested Baryonyx might have been semi-aquatic, but skeletal features did not strongly support this. However, isotope analysis indicated spinosaurids spent much of their time in water, possibly for thermoregulation. Recent studies revealed Baryonyx had dense bones, enabling it to dive after prey, unlike other spinosaurids like Suchomimus, which likely hunted in shallow waters. Though once thought to be quadrupedal, its forelimbs lacked adaptations for walking on all fours. Some researchers suggested its claws might have been useful for digging, possibly for water or nesting. Overall, Baryonyx appears to have been a semi-aquatic generalist predator capable of hunting both fish and terrestrial prey. Gigantspinosaurus is an extinct genus of stegosaur that lived in China during the late Jurassic period. It was identifiable by its extremely large shoulder spikes. Despite being a living genus, many people confuse the Gigantspinosaurus, thinking it to be a hybrid between Giganotosaurus and Spinosaurus. Gigantspinosaurus was described as a medium-sized stegosaur by Peng and colleagues. In 2010, Gregory Paul estimated its length at approximately 4.2 meters and its weight at around 700 kilograms. It had a distinctive appearance, featuring relatively small dorsal plates and exceptionally large shoulder spines, twice the length of its shoulder blades, resting on broad, flat bases. The neck bore small, triangular plates, while the head was likely large, with 30 teeth in each lower jaw. Its hips were notably wide, and the neural spines of its sacral and first tail vertebrae were fused into a single plate. Additionally, it had sturdy forelimbs. Skin impressions described in 2008 by Xing Lida and colleagues covered 414 square centimeters, revealing rosettes with a central pentagonal or hexagonal scale surrounded by 13 to 14 smaller ridge scales, ranging from 5 to 9 millimeters in diameter. Phylogenetic studies indicate that Gigantspinosaurus was one of the more primitive stegosaurs. Research by Maidman suggested it was the most basal member of Stegosauria. However, a 2018 redescription by Howe et al. Concluded that it was an intermediate basal stegosaur, exhibiting traits seen in both early Huayangosaurids and more derived stegosaurs. Despite its primitive features, it was not the most basal stegosaur, as Chunkingosaurus and Huayangosaurus were considered even more primitive.